Imagine working tirelessly, giving everything you have, and still being treated as if you're invisible. Now imagine if the person you're looking down on turns out to be the one signing your paycheck. This is the story of an undercover CEO who was fired from his own company as a worker, only to later reveal his true identity in a way no one expected. Stay with me until the end, because the moment of truth will leave you speechless. And if this story moves you, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and share. It helps us bring you more powerful stories like this one. The story begins with Daniel Morgan, the CEO of a multi-million-dollar manufacturing company. From the outside, he looked like a man who had everything: wealth, power, and respect. But Daniel was worried. His company was growing fast, yet complaints from workers kept piling up. They felt unheard, unappreciated, and many even said the managers cared more about numbers than people. Daniel wanted to know the truth. Not from reports or board meetings, but by living the life of his employees. So, he shaved his beard, dyed his hair, put on old clothes, and applied for an entry-level job at one of his own factories under a fake name, David Miller. On his first day, Daniel quickly realized how tough the job really was. The work was physically exhausting, lifting heavy boxes, standing for hours, rushing to meet impossible deadlines. His back ached, his hands blistered, and sweat poured down his face. But what hurt even more was the way he and other workers were treated. Supervisors barked orders, rarely said "thank you," and made it clear that workers were replaceable. No one cared if someone was struggling or if they had family problems. The motto seemed to be, work harder or leave. Daniel made friends with a few workers during lunch breaks. There was Maria, a single mom working 2 jobs to support her kids. Every day she came in exhausted, yet she kept pushing because she couldn't afford to lose the paycheck. There was James, an older man close to retirement, who had worked for the company for 30 years but felt forgotten. And there was Leo, a young man with big dreams but little hope, saying he wanted to quit because he felt trapped in a dead-end job. Listening to their stories opened Daniel's eyes in ways he had never imagined. One day, things took a dark turn. Daniel was working on the floor when a supervisor accused him of being too slow. Despite giving his best, the supervisor humiliated him in front of everyone and eventually fired him on the spot. "You're not fit for this job. Get out," the man sneered. Daniel walked away silently, not because he couldn't fight back, but because he wanted to see how it felt to be treated as disposable. The pain was real. For the first time in years, Daniel understood what it felt like to be powerless. That night, he couldn't sleep. He thought about Maria crying quietly in the break room, James limping home with sore knees, Leo losing his motivation, and himself being cast aside without a second thought. He realized his company had lost touch with humanity. Profits had overshadowed people, and leadership had forgotten that behind every number was a human story. A week later, Daniel called for a company-wide meeting. Workers and managers gathered in the main hall, murmuring, unsure why they had been called. Daniel walked in, not as David Miller, but as himself, the CEO, dressed sharply, standing tall. Gasps echoed through the room. Workers who had seen him struggling on the factory floor couldn't believe their eyes. The supervisor who fired him turned pale. Daniel spoke with raw emotion. He shared everything: how he disguised himself as a worker, how he struggled like they did, how he saw the disrespect and hardships. He looked at the workers and said, "I was one of you. I was fired by my own company. And in that moment, I understood what we've lost: respect, compassion, and dignity." His voice cracked as he continued, "No one here is disposable. Every one of you matters. From this day forward, things will change." He announced immediate reforms: better working conditions, fairer wages, respect for all employees, and a new system where workers' voices would be heard. Managers who abused their authority would face consequences. He promised more support for single parents, healthcare improvements for older employees, and training opportunities for the younger ones. The room erupted in applause, and many had tears in their eyes. Maria hugged her friend and whispered, "Finally, someone cares." James wiped his eyes, saying he finally felt seen after decades. And Leo looked hopeful again, realizing that maybe his job could be more than just survival. The supervisor who had fired Daniel stood frozen, ashamed. Daniel didn't humiliate him in return. Instead, he said, "This is your chance to change too. Leadership isn't about power, it's about responsibility." The lesson was clear: respect must flow from the top down. From that day forward, the company transformed, not just in profits, but in spirit. Workers smiled more, managers listened, and productivity soared because people finally felt valued. Daniel had gone undercover and been fired, but in losing his job, he found something far greater: the heart of his company. And that's the powerful truth of this story. It's not just about a CEO, it's about every workplace, every leader, and every worker who deserves dignity. If this story touched you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that inspire and remind us of the power of humanity. Because at the end of the day, no job, no company, and no leader can thrive without respect.